the month of May, there was a 3-week span where I painted 3 display models, and then later in the month, I painted another mini. Suffice to say that I'm a little bit burnt out on painting miniatures and talking about it in a video. I want to try something new. I want to make a game. The problem with that is that I don't know how to make a game. Generally speaking, when I have to do a big task and I have no idea how to do it, I will rely on other people's knowledge before just attempting something randomly. What I mean by other people's knowledge is that I should just look at other games that I like and try to figure out what it is I like about them. Alternatively, you can look online to find great advice about how to develop a game. You can find articles, you can find books, you can find videos, and I wouldn't limit myself to just content about board game design. I would also expand it to card games or video games in this case, with sequelitis comparing Mega Man X versus Mega Man Classic. Shout out to Trent for recommending this video to me. It has so many great implications about how to write a good rule book for a game. Hold on a second, are we kind of jumping the gun here? Typically when you start to ask these questions, you already have a game that you want to make in mind. So what do I want to I want to make a dueling game. Some of you guys were the inspiration for this game originally, because whenever I paint a display mini on YouTube, I inevitably get comments like, what's the point of a display model? You can't do anything with it, you just put it on the shelf and it looks pretty. And they're missing the point in a massive way, but what if there was a game that used these large figures? What kind of game would that be? Of course, it's the kind of game where your army is just one figure, these giant models. One problem with that idea that you're seeing initially right here on the table is that most people have terrain that are 4 32mm figures. Typically, you're not as large as a tree. That's a problem for Future Scott to figure out. But just imagine with me right now a dueling game like Mordhau or For Honor, but with miniatures. Does that not seem just so epic? Okay, maybe epic isn't the right way to describe it, but just the basic idea of the game. One model versus one model. It begs so many questions. What does list writing look like? Is it gonna be someone wielding a melee weapon versus another person with a melee weapon? Or am I gonna include ranged classes? Am I gonna include wizards? How do you balance ranged versus melee? How do you make the game just not 2 melee guys go to the middle and stick there and never move? That sounds really boring. Some of these questions I already think I have answers for, but a lot of them I don't. And the prospect of sitting down and thinking through these problems and coming up with great solutions is just so exciting. It's so exciting. I've never been more excited about something in this hobby for a very long time. I don't think anyone in the miniature world has really tackled this idea, and so it's super interesting and novel, and I want to give it a shot. By the way, if I'm wrong about that, if someone has made this game before, please send me a link. I want to check it out. Okay, now that you kind of understand what kind of game I would like to try to make, let's look at some games that I really appreciate and what about them I appreciate, so maybe that could possibly inspire the development process for this game. But first, an ad from this video sponsor who's showing off a very cool product. Tabletop Lights and Magic are 2 friends who play RPGs and wanted to bring their role-playing sessions to the next level with some awesome light effects. They've developed what they're calling the Magic Scroll, a spellcaster console of sorts that allows you to program light effects with 2 differently shaped LED modules. Have you ever wanted to represent the Soul Cage spell on the table? Well, now you can, and also many other spells across 8 total schools of magic. The scroll also acts as a way to charge these various modules as well. With a short press of the death button, all my lights now glow purple briefly to show me that they've been successfully programmed, and if I remove one, it glows purple off of battery power. On the coin-shaped medium-sized light modules, one short press enables 2 LEDs and a longer press enables all 6. Now, combined with some 3D printed spell effects, also designed by Tabletop Lights and Magics available on their Kickstarter, I can get some pretty cool results. The Magic Scroll also comes with a mobile app that'll be available for Apple and Android phones that allows even more control over the specific LED effect. Combine multiple coin-shaped modules together for an even bigger effect. Keep the various spell effects as is with clear plastic or paint them with transparent paints for a different look. You can preload your scroll with the spell effects your wizard needs and quickly program the effect and place it on the table during your session quickly and easily. Lastly, you can use the spell scroll to record your character information and count your magic spell slots in 5th edition D&D. The unit I am showing in this ad is a 3D printed prototype, but represents the look and feel of the manufactured product closely. Linked in the description, you can find a Notify Me page for the campaign, which will be live in July, so only one short month away. Make sure to get on the list so you can back it as soon as it's live. All right, back to which games I like and why. Guild Ball, baby. You know it, you love it, or at least you better freaking love it. There's a lot that I love about this game, but we have to save some for the rest. And also, we need to stay at a 1,000-foot view at the moment. I don't want to get nitty and gritty with mechanics just yet. One thing I love about Guild Ball is that it has no scenarios. And at first, that may sound like a bad thing. I've always been the kind of person to log into a first-person shooter and just play team deathmatch forever. I don't need King of the Hill, I don't need Capture the Flag, I just want to shoot people. But the murder has to be interesting. The gameplay loop of this game is interesting and diverse enough to the point where it does not need scenarios to make it more interesting. One reason why Guild Ball gets away with this is because there are constantly two goals that the player is trying to achieve: scoring goals and also killing people. And the way those are achieved is very different. You cannot do one and do the other. Scenarios aren't a bad thing at all, but the flagship way I play this game should not require them to be fun. A Song of Ice and Fire, baby. This is kind of a newer love to me when compared to Guild Ball, at least. And one reason why I love this game so much is that at every given moment, there are many obvious tactical choices for you to make, and it isn't obvious which one is the right one, but they all feel pretty valuable. Even after playing 50 to 70 games of this, a lot of my choices aren't necessarily solved when I'm in the thick of a game. Guild Ball also does this. It's really fun to look back on a game to figure out, was that the right choice? Was that the wrong choice? What am I gonna do different next time? Does it depend on the opponent? All those questions are so much fun and help the player to get better and better at the game and rewards investment. Speaking of that, boom, Doom Eternal is the kind of video game that rewards players who play the game. When I first tried to beat the game on Nightmare mode, I really struggled. But with investment, I got better and better at the game, and I could see that improvement, I could feel that improvement, and it encouraged me to play the game over and over again. Games like Dota 2, games like Hades, they all do this, and I love that positive feedback loop for the player. Guild Ball also does this. Frostgrave. While I don't actively play this game a ton, I'm not like super in love with it, one thing that I really appreciate about this game is it makes its target audience just so obvious and so known. When you read the rules of this game, it's so clear to me that this game is for fun, it's for just playing with buds, there isn't a ton of competition to it. It's a beer and pretzels game, and it's just so obvious. Any game that I make, I want the target audience to be super clear, and the way that game is supposed to be enjoyed to be very transparent as well. Boom, Age of Sigmar. Bet you didn't expect to see this book in here. And it's true, while I don't enjoy many things about this game, one thing I really enjoy is how unique each faction feels. It feels like I am in the creative driver's seat of the faction that I pick, and no one else in the game gets to have the fun, cool things that I get to have. I love having aesthetic, creative, narrative ownership over whatever warband, army, or in the case of my game, duelist, I am taking possession of. One thing that I really dislike about God Tier is that when you make an army in this game, you're supposed to take different factions and put them together into one larger squad. And honestly, I hate that. It's the same reason why I hate Cities of Sigmar and AOS. I want my faction or chosen squad or character to feel like it's unique to me and not aesthetically disparate. Okay, we kind of already described other elements of games that I enjoy and why I enjoy them and how I want to include those things in the game that I'm making, but let's get more specific. What's my wish list for this game? I want this game to be a competitive game. And that can mean a lot of things, from there is a ladder system in place to rank players to the balance is very tight. We don't make a lot of huge changes, and when we do, they're play tested very thoroughly. And the game isn't about randomness, it's about having a plan in mind and executing that plan, and maybe having RNG get in the way along the way, but it doesn't undermine what your strategy is. I want this game to be fast. I think one of the biggest things that is keeping miniature war gaming kind of in this hard to reach, like difficult area, is that the investment is very challenging. From painting the armies, to learning all the rules, to setting up the game, to even playing the game. I think a game with one figure, where setup is just putting the model on the table and say the game lasts 30 minutes, is amazing. And I want to try to strive for that. How do you spell excellent? I want the gameplay to be excellent. We already know this from talking about Guild Ball, but I don't want there to be scenarios to spice up the gameplay. The main loop should be very captivating. It should encourage replayability. It should never get stagnant, and that should happen just organically based on the way the game is set up. Lastly, it should have a low barrier to entry. I think where a lot of indie miniature war games struggle is if I want to play Relic Blade or Frostgrave, my opponent or my friend needs to then invest in picking out a warband, buying it, assembling it, painting it, and all this stuff. But imagine if you had a starter set that was like, I don't know, between $50 and $100. I have no idea what this is going to cost. And it came with 2 characters with all their cards or tokens or whatever is needed to play, and they were pre-assembled. And you got the box, you opened it, you read the rules, you sat down, and you could play immediately. It's like a board game-esque experience, but in the world of miniature wargaming, and the cost isn't super prohibitive. I don't know if this is possible, but this is where you come in. I need your guys' feedback. Does this idea sound like a good idea? Would you play the game? Would you invest in the game? Do you guys know of any resources or video games or board games that are kind of more of a 1v1 type experience that I can play to try out to get inspired for my game? Please let me know and put that in the comment section below. Did something that I say spark inspiration in you? Leave that below as well. I want to hear all of it. I want to make a game with you, essentially. Because at the end of the day, something that's really important to me is that this game is successful and that it's played. And if I make the kind of game that only I want to play and I think is good in my head, and don't let other people kind of put their hands on and put their intention on, and then no one buys it, then I honestly ultimately failed. I can't say that I'm going to listen to all of your guys' advice, but I'm going to take it all on board, and we're going to go through all of it in future episodes of this series. I haven't done a series on my channel for a super long time, but I'm very excited to start one right now. In episode 2 of this series, me and my friend Trent from Miscast are gonna do a game jam where we make a small game in a short period of time just to kind of test out the process and see what it looks like. I'm gonna interview game developers in the future to ask for their advice and try to put it in to my game. I'm gonna try to develop the rules and play test them. I'm gonna share versions of the rules with you guys. I don't know what all the episodes look like, but I'm so excited. If you guys don't like gameplay and prefer my painting content, do not worry, that is not gonna go away. I'm just gonna work on this every once in a while. We're gonna put out an episode, say, once a month. That's gonna do it for this video, guys. If you liked this style of content and you want to see more miniature war gaming related stuff, I'll link some videos at the end of this one for you to check out. If you like my channel, consider subscribing. YouTube has informed me that 45% of the viewers across my channel are not subscribed. You know, it's free, you can unsubscribe at any time, and I care very deeply about the kind of content and the quality of content I put out on my channel. So you can kind of trust me a little bit. And if I fail, just unsubscribe. It's like literally the easiest thing to do in the world. If you like my channel a lot and you want to support it, you can pick up some cool stuff on my web store, like this cutting mat that's double-sided imperial grid on one side, metric on the other. It's thick AF and self-healing. You can also pick up some merch on there, like this really cool Kill Your Friends t-shirt. If you don't want to buy some stuff, you can support me on Patreon. You get access to my Discord where we chat about all kinds of things, mostly miniature painting related, but also the best way to cook the best frozen pizza, Motor City Pizza. Hell yeah. But yeah, that's it. I'm just so excited about trying to make this game. I feel like I would hold off doing this forever. I try to get all my pieces in the right place, try to make it as perfect as possible. But if I just start episode 1 right now and just start the process, that's the best way for me to learn. And so I'm really excited to give this a shot and bring you guys along with me. All right, that'll do it for this video, guys. Subscribe and die! But most importantly, don't forget to hit my minis!